What's going on, Sheepdog? Suresh here, 221B Tactical. Today, we are going to talk about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and how if you are a police officer, it could potentially help save your life and potentially help prevent you taking the life of someone else. Very important in what's going on in today's day and age. So we are going to get into it and we're going to go over the top 5 things. Now, this is a follow-up to a blog that I wrote that was recently published, and I got a lot of questions about it. So I'm going to break down, I'm going to try to answer some of the questions, and this is something for people who may not know anything about jiu-jitsu. Maybe you see a little bit if you watch the UFC, maybe you know someone that rolls in your department, but maybe you yourself have some questions. So I'm going to try to hit on some of the most important points here and show you how you don't need to become a black belt. You don't need to become a UFC ninja. All you need to do is maybe dedicate 1 to 2 hours a month, and how that can give you a very basic baseline foundation to help keep you alive and, like I said, potentially save the life of someone else. So let's get into it. Okay, number one, the first thing is safety. The number one reason you'll want to learn something like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, which I'm going to just refer to as BJJ for the rest of this video, is your safety. Like I said in the intro, your safety is paramount. And of course, by any means possible, you want to protect the life of others that you're dealing with. Now, let me throw this out there. If you are presented as a police officer with deadly force, of course you are going to respond with deadly force. So this is not for those incidents where someone is attacking you with a deadly weapon. You are supposed to meet that and protect yourself first and foremost. However, in situations that we've seen as of late, a lot of people have speculated, why couldn't 2 officers subdue 1 drunk subject? And those are valid questions for people in the public. So we as officers need to be mindful of that. A lot of the times officers are acting out of fear because they lack knowledge of what to do. We all know, or some of you may not know, fear is born from a lack of knowledge. When you have knowledge, you have less fear. So you're dealing with a subject and they become resistant, and now you're on the ground and you're fighting with this subject. If you don't know what to do and you don't know how to handle this subject while you're on the ground, as we know, many fights and altercations end up on the ground. But if you have no skill set, no knowledge about ground fighting, then you are going to resort to energy, just putting energy out there and trying to scramble, grab, claw, punch. And then, of course, when you end up to the point where you are losing the fight, many officers we see resort to either their taser or, in some cases, their sidearm, their firearm. So when you have knowledge on how to restrain and detain someone, you have less fear. A lot of these actions we're seeing from some of these officers are fear-based. Of course, they find that someone is getting the best of them, so they now have to step it up. So your safety is number one, and having a baseline knowledge in jiu-jitsu will keep you safer by giving you more knowledge and decreasing your level of fear. Number 2, conservation of energy. If any of you have ever been in a fight with a subject on the side of the road or in a building, doesn't matter, you know that seconds feel like minutes and minutes can feel like hours. So what Brazilian Jiu Jitsu can do for you is actually slow down time for you and give you the ability to sustain a longer period of time without exerting so much energy, and you're going to let your backup get there, okay? So in a lot of these instances, and we see this a lot of the time, it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes for backup to arrive. And like I said, that can seem like an eternity. I've been in those situations where you see later on when you look at the CAD report when someone said they were en route and when they arrived, and it says 4 minutes, but you could swear you were on the ground wrestling with this person for 20. So when you know an art form like jiu-jitsu, you have the ability to put the subject that you are fighting with in a position, in a, let me call it a, maybe a pain compliance position, or one of the many locks that jiu-jitsu offers to you. And you can, without exerting an extreme amount of energy, kind of just sit there. And in some of these positions, and you see some of the high level people in jiu-jitsu, they can just sit there all day in certain locks. They're not exerting any energy. You don't see them grimacing. They're just sitting there. They're on a hold, they're waiting, and their opponent can't move. And a little bit of a tweak and their opponent is going to be in a world of pain. That is something critical to have on your tool belt. It's the knowledge up here of what to do. Once again, no grunt forces, no exerting energy. You could sit there all day, wait for backup to come, and once backup gets there, get many hands on the person, get them cuffed, get them restrained. This is especially important for female officers because, as we know, there is a disparity in strength. So if you're a female officer and you are dealing with maybe someone my size, I'm 6'2", I'm about 215, and you're a female officer, if I decide to fight with you, well, if it goes to a strength versus strength, muscle versus muscle, more than likely I'm going to beat you. However, if you have a skill set like jiu-jitsu, you can, and it has happened, I'm going to share a quick story, you can get that person in a compliance hold, and you could sit there all day waiting until you have backup to come there. You're not going to be rolling around fighting. It's not going to be fists, because if you get into the muscle and closed hand punch game, it's most likely going to be a losing battle, and that goes the same for many male officers. So the quick story is this: my very first time on a mat in a jiu-jitsu gym, it was an introductory. I'd wrestled a little bit growing up, but this was an introduction for me, and they put me with a female, and I didn't know anything about anything. So I went out on the mat, and it was a no-gi situation, and in rolling with this person, within, I would say, 20 seconds or less, I was in a position where I was in a lot of pain, or I was about to be in a lot of pain, and I had to tap, which is when you're in that compliance part in jiu-jitsu, you just tap on the person and say, that's it, I'm done. And because I felt my arm about to be in a lot of pain. So I got up off the ground. I was like, wow, holy crap, what just happened to me? And I later on found out that this young lady, who was easily half my size, had only been practicing and learning jiu-jitsu for about 6 months, maybe a little bit more than 6 months. That was it. And she was able to take a big guy like me, who didn't have a skill set, high school wrestling years in the past, and literally get me in a, let's call it a pain compliance hold. And she could have sat there all day waiting for backup. If she was an officer, she could have sat there all day, and I couldn't move. I was immobilized. If I tried to move, all she would do is just hip up a little bit, put a little bit of pressure, and that is it. And that is the power of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Number 3 plays off of what I just spoke in number 2, which is the size of your muscles don't matter. So I see a lot of guys in the jiu-jitsu game, once again, that are half my size. They're lean, they don't look like much. If you saw them walking on the street, you'd probably look at them and say, what's this guy, what does this guy have? And the reality is, this guy could mess you up. If the fight between you and him went to the ground, you are going to be in trouble, and you are going to be in a lot of pain. That's the beauty of jiu-jitsu. Your size and the size of your muscles and glamour muscles, all that doesn't matter. I have been twisted into a pretzel by both men and women half my size. So when it comes down to it, a lot of times people think, how much are you bench pressing? How much are you squatting? How much are you deadlifting? But that's all great, and there's a time and a place for that, and I think that should be part of everyone's regimen as far as fitness. However, none of that matters when it comes to a ground fight, unless you're just doing a straight chokehold on someone. However, if you have the skills that you can learn easily in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you will find ways to put people in pain compliance holds and get the upper hand on them. Anyone who is involved in BJJ knows that you see big guys come on the mat and they are completely wrecked by little guys that just know what they're doing. And it is, yes, there is of course the belt system. So of course, as you move up in jiu-jitsu, your knowledge base grows. So yes, you become more dangerous as you get through the ranking systems. However, many of you who are involved in BJJ know that you sometimes can see blue belts. They're just, which is they're just one notch up the ladder, just one notch up, and they're a blue belt. Yet they have the skill set that in a certain situation, if they're going against someone who has no knowledge of jiu-jitsu, they can be deadly. So that is the power of it. Your muscles, your size, boy, girl, doesn't matter. Having that kind of skill set under your belt as an officer, no matter what your size, is huge. Number 4 is something that most people don't think about when they think about any kind of martial art. I will say this, that it holds true for BJJ, but I also feel like it holds true for most any martial art. And that is when you learn certain art forms, especially in the martial arts, you are going to not only gain a skill set for whether it's hand-to-hand combat or ground fighting, but you also gain a sense of mental fortitude. You get to I believe, your reasoning skills increase and sharpen. Your ability to determine and read situations sharpens. Your all-around mental acuity sharpens, and it makes you stronger in certain situations. You'll become a better decision maker. You'll become a better evaluator of certain scenarios. And this is something that you learn as you go through an art like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, because in those situations, you have to think. And it's not necessarily, I got to think super quick right now. Sometimes you got to think quick, but sometimes you got to be very methodical. A lot of people call jiu-jitsu chess on the mat, right? Because you see these high-level people rolling and you watch them. It's not like, hands flying and feet flying. You see them thinking. They're waiting for their opportunity. They're waiting for their move. So it's almost like a beautiful art form to watch, as people are kind of waiting for the opportunity to come for them to see if they can execute a move, and that sometimes can end the match. So that is the beauty of something like jiu-jitsu, where it's not only going to make you obviously a much better asset, especially when it comes to ground fighting from a physical standpoint, but it's also going to help your mental game as well and make you stronger mentally all around. Whether you're on the ground fighting or you're just at a call and you're talking, you're trying to maybe de-escalate something and you're observing what's going on, the people around you, the person you're looking at, you are going to be better all around from that mental standpoint. I promise you that. Number 5, the 5th reason why jiu-jitsu is essential for police officers, especially in today's day and age, is because of the optics. As we know, everyone has one of these cell phones right now. On every call, everywhere you go, officers have body cameras. Well, obviously not all officers have body cameras, but many officers have body cameras. But outside of body cameras, everyone has some kind of Google Nest, some kind of camera on their home. People have their cell phones ready at hand every time something happens. And we have to be cognizant of this. We're obligated to be cognizant of this. So knowing that, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you are forced to potentially use deadly force in a situation where maybe you didn't have to use deadly force, but because you didn't have that knowledge and your fear level was high due to that lack of knowledge, you now have to elevate to a potential deadly force scenario. Take the weapon out of the scenario. I've seen many situations where officers are closed hand punching a subject, or they have their baton and they're hitting a subject, striking a subject with the baton. The reality is sometimes there is a place for that. However, much of the time, having a skill set like jiu-jitsu will help you not have to go there and do those things that, 1, are most likely not effective, and 2, look terrible from an optic standpoint. Now, let me say this before I have the people jump on and say, well, hey, you got to worry about, why you're worrying about the people with the cameras. Okay, we are living in a day and age where everyone has a camera, right? we are obligated to be mindful of that, and we are obligated to act accordingly. Yes, you don't want to worry about the camera over your safety. Of course, your safety is paramount, and you should never compromise your safety and well-being because, oh, there's a camera rolling over there. Your safety is number one. You need to do what must be done to survive. However, if you could learn a skill set that is more effective than closed hand punches and just scrapping around and trying to pull on clothes and pull on hair and grab and wrestle around, not knowing what you're doing, and it looks terrible, and then you start losing, and then what do you have to do? You got to go to your taser, or you got to go to your firearm. What if you had the ability to have a skill set like jiu-jitsu where now you can restrain that subject and get them into a hold, whether it's an arm bar or something, where now you could sit there all day and have that person in a place where if you move a little bit, they're going to be in a world of pain. So you have them in a pain compliance hold. You have exerted little to no energy, and you haven't done anything that looks horrific on camera for the people who are going to be posting it to their social media. You are able to subdue this person in a manner that is highly effective, way more effective than some other things that you may be trying, and doesn't look terrible. Now, yes, optics matter in this day and age. Your safety matters above everything. But why not give yourself the knowledge and the skill set to do that and be even more effective? Thanks again for watching. Remember, 221B Tactical, Sheepdog Nexus, training, insights, podcasts, gear reviews, everything that you need and want to become a better asset, whether you're an officer or you're just a responsible civilian that wants to be useful. You can check it out in the Nexus. Sign up on the website. We'll put that link below, so you can just click on it and you can learn all about it. It's going to be a great platform, and none of the information and none of the content is going to ever just mysteriously disappear like on some other platforms. Pages getting banned, content being removed, doesn't follow community guidelines, all this stuff. Never on the Nexus, because we own the Nexus, our private network, our content, so you will never be without that content, and you will have access to it 24/7 from anywhere in the world. So check that out. Check out all of our newest gear on 221btactical.com. And of course, if you have any questions, we ask you to email our sales team, sales@221btactical.com. Our team is there literally 24/7 waiting for you to answer your questions and address your concerns. So go ahead and reach out to them day or night from the comfort of your phone. Sales@221btactical.com. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Remember, watch their hands, watch your six. We'll see you next time.